Thank you, Mr. Acting Chairman. Appreciate it. General Goldfein, thank you for being in the fight all these years, and to you and all the airmen. I wouldn't be alive today and wouldn't be sitting here representing North Florida if it weren't for the United States Air Force. And I also want to thank you and commend you, and you as well, Secretary Barrett, for your work on light attack. We had this conversation a year ago. I just attended another Green Beret funeral yesterday from Afghanistan. This capability is, in my opinion, which we know well has been long overdue and needed. I am pleasantly just really grateful and stunned at the supersonic speed with which you have moved to put the MOU in place with SOCOM, to put the money in the FIDEP and in this year's budget to transfer over to SOCOM to procure those assets. I want to be clear on one piece, because I fear there could be some confusion out there. You've had a lot of questions and talk about retiring the A-10 airframes, close air support airframe. Obviously, the light attack is an overwatch, different function. You agree with me, and I want to get out there on the record. Those are two totally separate, divorced, independent moves. That is not a draw. That is not a drawdown of A-10 for light attack. Those are completely separate drivers.
Completely separate.
Thanks, Chief. Secretary Barrett, I look forward to seeing you switch into space. I look forward to seeing you the renaming, and you as well, General, at the renaming of Patrick Air Force Base to Patrick Space Force Base. I understand. Apologies, I wasn't here with Representative Lamborn, but I understand from your answer to him on the command issue, you're going to open that kind of competition, for lack of a better word, but open that selection process up. I think the Futures Command process that the Army went through was very fair and reasonable and open and gave communities a chance to kind of make their case. Is that my understanding from?
That's right. In fact, We're working with the Secretary of Defense, who was part of the Futures Command process, and that is informing what we will be doing in opening the Space Command competition.
You still expect an announcement this year?
Yeah, this year. This year to announce the process and to get the process going, and a selection by the end of this year or early next year.
Great. Thank you, Madam Secretary. General Raymond, thank you for the visit yesterday. I just want to reinforce my colleagues. We talked about the Guard issue and where we are on that. I just wanted to give you a minute to talk about the space threat. There are few briefs that really make the hair on the back of my neck stand up. What our adversaries are doing in space, and I have taken it on to just help our voters, help Americans understand how dependent our economy is on space, how dependent every individual in this room is, how we touch space 20, 30 times a day without even realizing it, and how our assets have to be protected. But we have to get to a deterrence model, and we can't get to a deterrence model with our adversaries in the world understanding what we are capable of doing unless we can talk about it. And I just wanted to, over to you, General.
I really appreciate that question. Clearly, space is a warfighting domain, just like air, land, and sea. That's why the Space Force and U.S. Space Command are so critical. We do not want to get into a fight that begins, or extends into space. We want to deter that from happening. I think it's really important that America understands, the average American understands, just as you said, how reliant they are on space capabilities, but also the growing threat. Everything from reversible jamming of communication satellites and GPS satellites to directed energy weapons.
And when we say, just to be clear, when we say, our modern economy and society is dependent, agriculture, banking, telecommunications.
Across the board.
Weather, disaster, across the board.
Right. And so,
farming.
Yeah, so not only does it fuel our American way of life, but it also fuels our American way of war. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing that the Joint and Coalition Force does that isn't enabled by space. It's absolutely nothing.
Thank you. And just in my remaining time, if you could submit for the record, I think it's important too. I also sit on the Science, Space, and Technology Committee, so I see the civilian side of what we're trying to do with the moon and space station and others, and how the Space Force and NASA are working together so that we can still operate in a challenged space, so that NASA can operate in a challenge. If you could submit that for the record.
I absolutely will. We're working closely together.
Thank you.